Fire them up. That's what we do on the Andrew Gosser Show. We fire them up right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble, where we are streaming on X, where we are streaming on YouTube. No one cares about Facebook, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, that is 103.9 WYAB. Help us grow the station, build the channel, like, share, and subscribe. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend, tell a Democrat. And let's build this out together. Follow me on X. You're going to want to do that today. At Andrew Gosser, ANDREWGASSER. Phone number is 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat of its fruits. I would also add to that, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. And today's show, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be deep. And it's not going to be one of those shows where we go to rage bait people, clickbait, all that other silly nonsense. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's not that Jackson or Ocean Springs is in a maelstrom. It's not that Hinds County or Jackson County are in a maelstrom, or the state of Mississippi, the country of the United States. But humanity is in a maelstrom. And some of you might ask, Andrew, what is a maelstrom? Why are you using such big words? It's nothing more than a powerful, violent whirlpool that sucks objects within its radius. And our society is being sucked into a giant radius. And that radius is digital. I'm not saying it's AI. I'm not saying that it's computers. I'm just saying that it's digital for now. And we are having such a hard time because our human brains can't possibly consume all the data and information that's out there for us to consume. Therefore, we must be wise with what we consume. We must be direct and precise with what we consume. And the places that you go to consume stuff will directly reflect what you think and how you view certain things. I'll tell you what, I always have more of a nationalistic view on things, but when our local reporting is hitting it out of the park, it is. Kingfish, Jackson Jambalaya, Thursday, 23rd of July. He posted the entire speech from District Attorney of Jackson County. Her name is Angela Myers. And I'm going to play this completely unedited because you can get it clipped on WLBT here. You can get it clipped on WYB here. You can go to other places, but you will not hear the entire clip. And I think this is really important. We really need to slow the heck down when it comes to these rushes to judgments, when we're demanding justice. Some people say all gas, no brakes. Yet here I am pumping the brakes. With that, here's the district attorney. I pray that everybody just sits back and listens directly to what this woman is saying. Because if we don't, as one of my friends at church said, we're cooked.
As District Attorney for the 19th Circuit Court District of Mississippi, I want to talk directly to the people of Jackson County. Our community is grieving the tremendous loss of Nolan Wells, who is loved and treasured by everyone. Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers. Every death in the county, except those of natural causes and non-criminal car wrecks, are presented to your grand jury. Many people don't know that. We have handled death investigations in this manner my entire career. Nolan's case is being handled the same way, with the same care and the same commitment to the truth that we handle all death investigations. I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence must be examined. Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence, and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation and the grand jury proceeding. As your district attorney, I have an ethical obligation to avoid public statements that could influence witnesses, prejudice a proceeding, or compromise the fairness of the legal process. My obligation extends to and requires me to use reasonable care to ensure investigating agencies avoid making those statements and releasing information as well. These rules exist to protect the search for the truth, not to prevent it. As divided as the discussion surrounding Nolan's death has become, I know we all want the same thing: to understand what happened to Nolan. With that being our shared goal, we must also share in the goal of protecting the integrity of how the truth is discovered. If we sacrifice the integrity of the process in effort to satisfy today's questions, we risk undermining the confidence in tomorrow's answers. When the public asks, what about this, or have they looked at that, or did they think about this? The answer is yes. Those are the same questions investigators ask. The difference is that we can't publicly discuss the evidence, the interviews, or what those efforts have uncovered while the investigation is underway. Again, our restraint in sharing details of the investigation is not a refusal to share the truth. It is our commitment to protect the process that allows the truth to be known with confidence. There's a lot of information out there, and there is a heck of a lot of misinformation out there. I simply want the community I serve to know that this investigation is being handled with the care, professionalism, and commitment to the truth that every family in Jackson County deserves. As we continue this important work.
Yep. And, I realized that on the stream, I lost about 20% of the people on the stream because I wasn't talking and the district attorney was. But I don't know a better way to say that we need to have patience and go through the legal process better than a person who's done it for her entire career. Sean Yurkaron, WYAB's very own resident attorney, defense attorney, brought up some of these very same points, talking about how social media is going out there and being a super spreader of disinformation. You think I'm talking about Nolan Wells? No, I'm talking about Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. I'm talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, and what happened with the assassination attempt on President Trump there. I've said this over, man, I've thought about this all night last night. I literally couldn't sleep. We are literally losing the plot when it comes to common sense and rationality. And we all talk about living in a simulation and how the new data centers are coming and how we're not going to be able to tell what's real and what's fake. I think we might be there. There are really good people who are upset over Nolan Wells' death that don't agree the way that I think and what I agree with. And yes, of course, if my show starts, my computer's got to reboot because that's just the way it works anymore. But that doesn't mean that we start going ahead and start ripping apart our communities and our fabrics. Man, the phone calls I've taken and listened to people who have wept over how their community, Ocean Springs, is being ripped apart by people who don't even live there, who just fly in, make a scene, get a headline, and then move on like it's all done and over with. Well, it's all done and over with for them, but it's not done and over with for Ocean Springs. It's not over with for Nolan Wells' mama. God bless her. Give her faith, courage, strength, integrity. It's not over for those kids who were hanging out with Nolan that day. It's not over for that. It's not even over for Mississippi. We're still dealing with it. And we have people who are making a damn good living, and I meant to say it like that, a damn good living off the anxiety, off the misery, off the disinformation, off the emotion, off of the deceit and agony and helplessness that's being felt by so many people from Ocean Springs, not just from Nolan's family, but from the community in general. And it's bothering me to the point to where I feel I need to focus more of this show on trying to explain that there is something bigger out there that's better than what's put right in front of us, bigger than Uncle Elon's data center, bigger than Bill Gates' genetically grown meat from a laboratory. We sit there and we're looking for these answers, and some answers are right in front of us, and yet we choose to see them because we don't want to. And our body politic in the United States and the world for that matter is so screwed up. It's so screwed up, and we look for the littlest things to drill into and dive deep into and turn it into something that it should not be. We lack the discernment. And you all think I'm talking just about the crazy whacked out Democrat Socialists of America. I'm talking about some people on the other side of the aisle too. There are such real world problems. And when it all comes back down to it, it's just going to come down to you and your one-on-one relationship with God. And then how do you present that to those around you, those that you care for, those that you love, cherish, go to work for every day, sacrifice for? It's like the more digital we become, the less human we are. And there's so much to this to unpack. And I genuinely feel like there are people out there who don't want us to go through and unpack this in a slow, methodical, rational way. There are people out there who just want us to rush to the next story. What's the next headline? What's the next click? What's the next big trending story worldwide on TikTok or X or Insta or whatever your social media platform of choice is? There is so much to do right here at home that we need to be focusing on that. Can't help but think that instead of focusing on the speck in your brother's eye, you should focus on the log in your own. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Good morning, chat. I sure am glad you're here. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYB. You know, sometimes the wounds of a friend are better than a kiss from the enemy. And I was talking to Brother Rick as the show's going. I'm like, it's going to be a tough one today because I genuinely wake up every morning. If you talk to the Sweet Bee, if you were to talk to the Sweet Toots, if you were to talk to any of the friends that I talk to in the morning, ask Clay. I see him in the morning. Ask Brother Chip when I see him. I am genuinely a positive person. I'm always leaning forward. I have plenty of reasons, plenty of excuses to be a miserable curmudgeon. But I don't allow any of that to happen. I press through. But sometimes I sit there and I look at what some of you all are sending me, and don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. Uh, I'm like almost weeping or in mourning for it because of what is out there and what people are consuming and what they are becoming and turning into. I had that back outpatient surgery the other day, and Brother Troy and Brandy brought over a wonderful meal. Thank you so much for that, by the way. It really made the burden a little bit easier on the sweet bee and myself. I often wonder what we are doing inside our local circles, our local community, our church friends. Maybe you don't go to church. Maybe you just have a friends group on the corner of the block. I don't know what your situation is, but we all have friend groups. And I wonder what we do for fun. What do you do to relax? What do you do for enjoyment? What do you do to have this positive mental attitude, this framework that allows you to go out into society and function? Because I'm telling you, from the stories that I'm being sent, not the people who are sending them. No, no, no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not calling you out at all in any way, shape, matter, form, nature, or relationship. But the people who are writing it, you have CNN anchors getting on Substack talking about their personal lives in ways that don't need to be discussed. And I'm like, is that woman truly content in life? Does she have joy? Does she have peace? If you are on Substack bragging about your body count, I'm gonna guess that no, there's something deep down inside of you that's empty, that can't be filled. And I just see it creeping more and more into society. I see it more every day. And then places that we go that where we're supposed to trust, that were never really trustworthy to begin with, whether that be if you wanna look at the old traditional news media, CNN, ABC, CBS, ABC, they're completely or influenced by Operation Mockingbird. They're nothing more than a mouthpiece for something that's deep and dark and disdainful. But then I could go to the Mississippi Free Press. Nolan Wells' state autopsy will remain under seal until presented to a grand jury, DA says. And you know what? I'm telling you this. You've heard me say this before, but a picture says 1,000 words, and you can control people's emotion through music. I'm certain of it. I know it. We've done a few experiments right here on the Andrew Gosser Show in the past, and it's brought out fruit. And there is a great picture of Mr. Nolan standing by the water. Justice for Nolan with the exclamation point, RIP. And instead of letting the investigative process take its course, where this has national attention, we continue to write stories that don't allow things to calm down. Not saying that we let it go. We're not saying that we're just letting this go, all walk away. But we don't write stories to let this process work out and then see what happens. We talked about yesterday with Ben Crum giving the secondary autopsy reports at a NAACP speech in Chicago. Really? What does that do for the Nolan Well family back in Ocean Springs, Mississippi? What does it do to the community there that is just being completely trashed and ripped apart via social media? Y they used to make fun of Mississippi because we were in the middle of nowhere and we were the poorest state in the nation. Well, we're not the poorest state in the nation, number 1, and here's a great fact. The country of England If it were a state, it would be poorer than Mississippi. We are all so connected, and we have it so good here, and we are allowing these outside influences to pollute what I it's not even what I believe, it's what I know. It's fact that Mississippi is the greatest kept secret. I used to say in the United States, but I'm gonna say the world. Our cost of living is good. I was in Byram yesterday as I was coming home from the radio show, stopped at a few places, and, every person that I talked to or looked at, made eye contact with, "Hello, hi, good afternoon, how you doing?" Smiles. I think we're taking that for granted here in Mississippi. I think we are the culture that we've built up here is something pretty special, and it's not like there aren't problems here. Don't get me twisted. There are all sorts of things that need to be worked on and fixed, but isn't that true in any relationship in life? Whether it be your personal life, your education life, your employment life, your spiritual life. Nothing is ever perfect. You're human. But man, we've got it so good here, and I get disgusted when I see the home team grabbing defeat out of the jaws of victory. And it's so disgusting to see the big culture, what I will put this leftist ideology that's putting us and it is a leftist ideology, but it's not a Democrat ideology. There is a difference, ladies and gentlemen. If nothing else, over the last 2 weeks, I've learned that there is a difference between a Democrat and a Democrat Socialist of America. There's a difference between someone who just leans to the left and someone who's sitting there going nuts because they don't have their SSRI for the day. And when I see it embedded into our federal government, where they're not trying to make sure that we don't forget the past, where they sit there and try to rewrite the past. And it was a story that I missed, and I'm sure nobody here on the radio talked about because when I tacitly brought it up, no one even made a peep of it. But when we get back, we're gonna talk about one of the most trusted institutions in America had to actually pull apart some of their event, some of their display because of what they said. And until it got really big attention, it was gonna sit that way. And I don't wanna be that way to where I sit there and say, "Oh, I'm just gonna let this go and let the problem get worse and worse and worse." No, that's not me. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Good morning, Stacy. I see you chat there. It's just hard to type this morning. I've got a heavy heart. There was so much dumped on my lap, just really dark stories. And like not on purpose, it's just what's out there. And I was just like, my goodness gracious, we need something positive. But it's about to get a little bit darker before it gets brighter. But it's going to be good. I'll see you Sunday for sure. Good morning, Junk. I see that. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. Rush Limbaugh used to call it the soft bigotry of low expectations. And he was right. And I don't know how this got through my news filters, my different algorithms that I have, where I actively are on the lookout for words such as culture. But Newsweek came out with this almost a week ago. Or actually, a while ago. And it just, for whatever reason, popped up in my timeline. And I'm like, I need to talk about this. And I do want real interaction with this. And the chat's fine. Texting's fine. Phone calls are fine too. But is rugged individualism a symptom of white culture? Think about that for a minute. Rugged individualism, white culture. The individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance, independence and autonomy, highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assume to be in control of their environment. Is that really white culture to you out there? Because at the Smithsonian, that's what they had on their display. I don't look at that at all. Coming from a military perspective, army of one, be all you can be, combat discipline focus. Every soldier, every sailor, every Marine, every airman, we were all had rugged individualism. We conformed to the greater good, the bigger cause. But listen to this. In Mississippi, this is the heart of where they put us into silos and they get us fighting and bickering with each other. And it's not because guess what? The color of your skin or your nationality has absolutely no idea or no difference way path on the way you move forward on whether or not you are a rugged individual. That's all on you. In your upbringing, the nuclear family, father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit. Is that whiteism? Where the husband is the breadwinner and the head of the household, is that whiteism? Is that white culture or is that American culture? My gosh, this is so bad. Wife is the homemaker. Is that a white culture thing? I don't know. Are there any women out there who are homemakers who wish they weren't homemakers? In America, if you are a woman and you want to go out and get a job, can you? Or are you subjugated to Sharia law where you have to wear a burqa and a hijab? Where in some Muslim nations you can't even drive a car or log on to the internet because you're not smart enough to go ahead and put in your own password. The family structure of having a husband and a wife together in covenant with God and having many kids, not just 2.3 kids, but many kids, is a good thing. It's not white culture. It's humanity. But yet, Newsweek and the Smithsonian feel like it's whiteism. Let's talk about history. Based upon Northern European immigrants' experience in the United States. Well, that's who founded the United States. Yes, there were slaves who were brought over here, and we're not discounting that, but this country, that's what founded it. Some people argue that it wasn't even Christopher Columbus and the Spanish, it was the Vikings. It was Erling Haaland's people going over, rowing across the United States like in the World Cup. Heavy focus on the British Empire. Well, America, we basically came from Great Britain because we were ticked off at the king, and we wanted our religious freedom. No tolerance or deviation from a single God concept. And that kind of moves into religion aspect of it. Christianity is the norm. Is that a whiteism thing in the Black community? Christianity wasn't a thing back in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. I'd argue that Christianity was the main thing in the United States of America, no matter what race you were, until about 2004. I think that's when the internet really started to take hold. Anything other than Judeo-Christian tradition is foreign and is whiteism. This has come from the Smithsonian, ladies and gentlemen. What are we doing here? Why are we trashing our own way of life, our own upbringing? I'm not saying it's perfect, but when you think about what this country, the United States of America, has produced over the past 250 years, it has far surpassed anything any other nation has done. A Protestant work ethic. Hard work is the key to success. Yes, that is true. I had someone come from my military past when I was enlisted in the Navy, and I was going to get my college degree. I was doing I was on shore duty, so shore duty in the Navy is kind of cool because if you, depending on where you get slotted into, you might have 8-hour day. I had about a 9-hour day. It was a really great deal, and it was always scheduled. It was, dare I say, banker's hours. Namtrade Groot at Oceana, not complaining. But in the off time, my off time, did I go and play golf? Did I go screw around? Or did I use my time wisely and take the equivalent of 12 semester hours every 9 weeks? Think about that, 24 hours in 18 weeks. And I was going 5 semesters a year. St. Leo University to get my degree. Work before play. Is that white culture? Or is that just habit? Good product of having good habits. If you didn't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough. I've never heard a white person say that. I've heard of falling short. I've heard of people who ended up getting pulled from training because they couldn't meet the standard. But I just look at what's happening in Ocean Springs, Jackson County, and I see the division that they're trying to put up, and we have to stand against this, and we have to talk at this in a way that is not condescending, belittling, or otherwise being an antagonist, but to have real conversations and say, this isn't right. What Smithsonian did is not right. What Newsweek did by reporting it, dare I say, good job, Newsweek. But when we see things like this, where they say that the Black community isn't hardworking, we got to call BS. When they say that the Black community isn't spiritual and Christian, we got to say that's BS too. When we say that the Black community isn't objective, doesn't offer rational linear thinking, we've got to say that that's BS. Now, there might be examples out there where it's not like that, and I would say there are examples in the white community too. But this division, where they take single examples and blow them up into Nagasaki and Hiroshima-sized bombs, it's not good for our culture and our society. It's not good for our home life. It's not good for our education. It's not good for our kids. We all say we want a better life for our kids. And we are rapidly approaching the point to where we're not passing down a better place to our kids. But that's just my opinion here on the Andrew Gosser Show. You are listening to it on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hmm. The word cheers me up, Brother Junk. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here on the Andrew Gosser Show. I know the first hour was kind of heavy, but it's what the Lord put on my heart. And I tried to do so in a way that uh, didn't have harsh words. It didn't incite anger, but it still spoke the truth. And there's a lot of craziness out there that's going on right now. And the show is very tuned into current events, including the most recent tweet from U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith 35 seconds ago. So glad to see the 300 soldiers of the Mississippi National Guard's 204th Air Defense Artillery Unit return home safely after a 13-month deployment defending our nation's capital. This vital mission protecting the national capital region has stood since September 11, 2001. And we do support our National Guard troops from Mississippi. Thank you for your sacrifice. Deployment to D.C., some people, oh, it was only to D.C. It wasn't Mogadishu. It wasn't the Middle East. Nope, but that's where they were sent to by their commander. And they did so with honor and distinction. And we're grateful for them. And our nation does need homeland defense. We're going to need a lot of it. We're going to talk about a lot of it in the next hour. I've got some quotes that will be absolutely shocking to a few of you. For many of you, you'll be like, oh, I forgot he said that, but I remember that. And some of you are like, okay, he was clearly on drugs when he said that. So we'll let that sit there and percolate while you guess who this quote is coming from. And we will talk about the Save America Act in the next hour and how the Senate, specifically Senator Thune, is starting to get grouchy because people are going up to him and saying, hey, when are you going to pass this thing? And it's not just some lone radio host in Mississippi banging the drum, not daily, but almost daily about it, that's causing Senator Thune to have some discomfort. There are many bigger fish than me, ladies and gentlemen. I realize that it's a blessing to be here on WYAB and that the station that I'm given, the platform that you give me, I never take for granted or lightly. And I use it as best I can to, one, build the kingdom, but two, try to make Mississippi a better place, try to make America a better place. And when enough of us get ticked off at the political class for selling out Americans to illegal immigrants, it starts to wear on the politicians. And it's getting louder, ladies and gentlemen. And it's nothing because of what I did, but it's what all you do. Those of you who said, yep, I did reach out to Cindy Hyde-Smith. President Trump is asking people to call John Thune and tell him to get the Save America Act passed. Mike Lee talking about how he feels optimistic for what could possibly happen with this latest passage of the Save America Act and how it affects people right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in Hinds County. Every little bit helps. And we've got more evidence to show that. And we'll talk about it in the next hour here on the Andrew Gosser Show. I'm grateful and thankful for that. We will take phone calls too if you want to call the show, 601-879-0002. Lots of texts. Some of them I can read, some of them I can't. Hang in there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in about 7.5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. ABC is lying its ass off. And we are back for hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we're streaming. You know where we're streaming, including the mothership that is WYAB.com. We are on a 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 103.9 WYAB. And you can always call in at 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And I make no bones about it. The mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. And I realize I say some things that sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. They kind of make you shift in your seat a little bit. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat of its fruits. I pray before every show to make sure that I speak clearly and that the words that I'm saying are what I mean. And they're not there to incite anger, but they're there to bring a little bit of common sense to the situation. And as far as I'm concerned, what's happening in the U.S. Senate, we are in the midst of, dare I say, a soft coup. I just got sent a missing persons poster for Senator Mitch McConnell. No one's seen him. Have you seen him? Think about that. This guy has not been seen in public. There's been a picture posted of him, which could arguably be said was photoshopped and taken from a year earlier. And then all the metadata shifted in AI and on all the social media platforms. It's amazing how that works. And we can't have a honest debate about our national sovereignty and our borders. Well, it used to be a thing back in the day where your national border made sense. But don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen. Believe your president. Believe your president.
This administration, the Bush administration, has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need.
And you know what? Everything up to said until he said as president, Barack Hussein Obama is 100% correct. He was correct in 2008, and he's correct today. So why is it? What's changed? What's changed in America to where it used to be a good thing to have a secure border? And look, you want to know what? George W. Bush, did he do the best job he could have on the border? Nope. Was it 5 million? No. But it was still way too many. And the arguments that President Obama puts forward in that speech right there, and Hillary standing right next to him looking at him with fear, venom, and disdain in her eyes. It's awesome. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. And this is, if you want to watch the rest of the clip, well, let's just play the rest of the clip. Why not?
That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as president of the United States.
Yep. And that was coming from none other than Mr. Mays Moore, who I often cite on the show, at Mays Moore on X. If you're not following him, he just posts these nuggets of gold from our history, the history that the mainstream media and the Operation Mockingbird folks want you to forget. But we won't forget here on the Andrew Gosser Show. Now, I did all that to play this. And this is a clip coming from New Jersey Governor Sherrill admits 6,600 non-citizens registered to vote, nearly 400 ballots cast. And this is a news report from ABC 7. And I know it's a little bit of extra audio this hour, but that's just the way it is.
a mistake at the Motor Vehicle Commission with registering people to vote, a mistake that added about 6,600 non-citizens to that state's voter rolls.
In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway. The error in the software was corrected a year later in June of 2024. That is more than 2 years ago. I learned of this last Wednesday, and I immediately ordered my chief counsel to launch a comprehensive investigation.
Now, Governor Sherrill just outlining the situation in the past half hour. She says it looked like about 400 of the non-citizens may have actually voted. We, of course, will bring you much more on Eyewitness News first at 4.
Yep. And I'll repost that too. But look, you know that there was a congressional race in Iowa where the incumbent defeated the challenger by 6 votes. So don't tell me that 400 votes doesn't mean anything. But wait, there's more, just like Billy Mays. This is coming from Donald Trump's True Social. It wasn't 6,600 illegal immigrants who were registered to vote in New Jersey. 35,152 is the new number just released by Homeland Security of non-citizens registered to vote in New Jersey. These are just the ones that got caught. The real numbers will prove that many more times over this amount. They are all well, he says Democrats, Republicans. Get smart and straighten out our crooked elections. Pass the Save America Act. Yes, and that's why I'm doing that. That's coming via Donald Trump and Tim Burchett, who is running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee this election cycle. Think about that. In less than a week, it went from 6,600 to 35,000. Andrew, we're in Mississippi. Why does it matter? Because you're being disenfranchised. The formula that figures out how much Social Security people get, how much money each state gets, is being skewed, being obfuscated by all these illegal immigrants, primarily in blue states, by the way. That's not to say we don't have a problem here in Mississippi, but I genuinely believe there's enough credit for Governor Reeves, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman, Speaker White, Auditor Shad White, Secretary of State Michael Watson. There's enough credit for all of them that we do not have the same type of problem here in Mississippi that they have in New Jersey or New York or Chicago, Illinois, or California, or throw in any other liberal hellhole you want to do. But that's why it's even more important, which is why that we continue to talk about this and bring it up in our circle of influence, if not daily, at least weekly, until it starts permeating in circles that normally wouldn't be concerned about politics. And we all have those friends in our circle of friends. Oh, I'm not talking politics. Politics are my own. They sit there and they say, or I really like the ones that say, I don't vote because it doesn't matter. Well, that's great. We have an American who's refusing to vote because he thinks it doesn't matter. And we've got 35,000 illegals who are registered to vote and they think it might matter. It makes no sense. We lost 4 Americans this past week in combat in Iran. Theater of war. I know it wasn't in Iran. Always have those ones. But they paid the ultimate price. They gave the ultimate sacrifice for you to go to the poll to vote. They didn't go for some illegal immigrant from Somalia to vote, although they will. They didn't die for some illegal immigrant from South America to vote, but they end up voting. Good morning in the chat. It's absolutely staggering to me how out of touch we as American citizens are. We take so much for granted. Yesterday, I brought up Brian. I had a couple stops, but one person said, you bring up the voting a lot. I'm like, yeah, because it's important. They're There are young men and women dying for your right. Why wouldn't you vote? And why wouldn't you vote to protect your nation's borders? Whether you are Democrat or Republican, our republic demands that we have an informed and engaged electorate. You know, I was sitting there talking to this young lady, and she was sweet, but I'm like, didn't they teach you in civics about the electoral college vote, how electoral college voting works? Didn't they teach you about the importance of aldermen and mayors and presidents? And she flat out said no. She was in Byram. I gave her my card. I hope she decides to call. I'd love to have lunch with her and sit down and explain the importance of the electoral college vote and why it matters. The importance of how the 17th Amendment single-handedly destroyed the United States Senate, and the United States Senate is destroyed right now. It is completely incompetent, impotent, and broken. I mean, this is literally, this is like something right out of Star Wars and Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine. He's got the Senate completely locked down, completely not doing nothing of value, meaningful. People saying we don't have the filibuster, the walking filibuster, the standing filibuster, the talking filibuster. There's all sorts of different filibusters out there. You can't get a straight answer from any of your senators on the issues that really matter. Sure, we'll talk about the war and the importance of war. I've got a story here from Senator Wicker. We'll talk about it in the next segment, about the importance to finish the job in Iran. I'm not against finishing the job in Iran, but how about finishing the job of securing our borders first? Wouldn't that be a lot better? I mean, isn't it America's values to take care of your own house before you start worrying about other houses? Now, granted, when the other house is threatening to blow your house up, you might want to take a little bit of an interest in that. I get that. I understand that. But my goodness gracious, we are just all over the place in this country, except where we need to be, which is our own national security, our own borders, and taking care of our own people. I mean, I agree with a lot of these libertarians who say we should just cut off all foreign aid and start taking care of our own house, taking care of our own people. We have people who have given their lives to this country and served their country. And I'm not just talking military. I'm talking police officers, firefighters, paramedics, first responders. How about our streets and sanitation people? How about the Americans who spent their entire lives working water and sanitation, making sure that when the potty flushed, it all went away? How about making sure we take care of those people? Sorry for the graphic image, but what are we doing here? We're saying that people who illegally immigrate to this country were getting hotel rooms in New York and food subsidies more than anybody in Jackson, Mississippi ever got. Make it make sense. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. The American people are fundamentally pro-legal immigration and anti-illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is wrong. And a primary goal of comprehensive immigration reform must be to dramatically curtail future illegal immigration by dramatically reducing the number of illegal aliens who are able to enter the United States. We will create
This administration
Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. I love it when somebody says, Andy, show me the receipts. In 2020, Congresswoman Miller Meeks, Republican of Iowa, won her election by 6 votes, 196,964 to 196,958. There you go. I just put it on my timeline. And just because I want to smash this into the ground a little bit more, let's listen to that stalwart of strong immigration and border reform. Let's listen to him.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. The American people are fundamentally pro-legal immigration
Who is this guy?
and anti-illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is wrong. And a primary goal of comprehensive immigration reform must be to dramatically curtail future illegal immigration. By
And there's a million different ways to do this. This goes on for 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Chuck U. Schumer giving an address that President Trump would be proud to give. What changed? Do you see why term limits are so important? Do you see why the 17th Amendment was so important, that the states could pull back their senators when they got too much power, when they went off the rails? Boomers are, and everybody wants to blame the boomers or blame the senior Gen Xers or the silent generation. But it's not that. It's humanity in general. And there's just so many more examples of this. Here, I'll repost that too, because somebody I know is going to say I'm making it up. And I enjoy it when I'm told that I make stuff up. But there's other good stories that are out there. And before we get to the war, because I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what's happening with our fighters and bombers and everything going on in Iran, the Straits of Baba Mandrel. Brother Rick reminded me that's also known as the Gate of Tears, where the Houthis are hanging out between the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. They actually call that strait the Gate of Tears. It's been like known as the Gate of Tears for thousands of years. Wonder why. But the U.S. House continues to do good stuff, whether it's passed the Save America Act or passed Nancy Pelosi's favorite bill, stock trading ban on all lawmakers. And remember, this is stuff that's getting done in spite of how broken our Senate is, in spite of how broken we are and politically, how fractured we are, how everybody wants to rip us all apart. We're still getting stuff done, barely. But you wouldn't think the media would be helping out at all with it. This is from 2021. I just love playing these "See, I told you so's."
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says no to banning congressional lawmakers from trading stock. It was in response to a question about a report that found dozens of members of Congress violated a law meant to stop insider trading and prevent conflicts of interest. Here's what Pelosi said.
Because this is a free market and people, we're a free market economy that should be able to participate.
She couldn't bring herself to say free market capitalism. But again, and people wonder how the United States has so much wealth. Free market capitalism, representative republic, a Declaration of Independence, and a constitution that rewards free markets and has a Judeo-Christian backbone, and we don't run from it. But we're running right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're running from it hard. And it's very sad and it's downright disgusting to me. It's downright disgusting. Let's take a phone call here. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, I'm going back to all this other stuff, education. And we let all these elites in our colleges, now they're in our high schools, and Mississippi's quit teaching history, which I think is in the public schools, which I think is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes back to us. We sit back and let these people come in and take over. They hate America, and that's what they're teaching them. What we were taught to love America.
I couldn't argue with you one bit. It's a shame that you got to sit there and fight just to say the Pledge of Allegiance before every day in schools, you know?
hmm And I don't know. God's still in charge. We got to pray, and that we can't do everything. I sort of figured it out, but just every little bit there where we can help somewhere, put some in or help do something to put some in their schools, Constitution or somewhere we can teach them more, teach the Bible maybe more. I don't know. I can't explain. Everybody's got their little part they do. And the more of us that got that part and we're doing it, the better we might be surprised what seeds we grow.
Well, you know, I planted it, you planted it, Apollos watered it, but it was God that gave the increase. I love that one. Brother,
Yes.
I give you the last word. I appreciate the call.
And God bless you. Have a good day.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And you know, I had a story coming from Dark Horse Press. I think I got rid of it. Darn it. Dark Horse Press had a great story the other day about Elkhorn State doing great work on, you know, training their new teachers. But it didn't talk about all the other challenges that these new teachers are having, where these kids are coming in with no social skills, no socialization, completely addicted to iPads. But good on Elkhorn State for doing what they're doing. I'm not going to sit there and be a complete hater on Elkhorn State. Yeah, I'm just trying to pull it up now. It's on Dark Horse Press, and you got a point there. I mean, even with the Mississippi Constitution that says you can use the Bible in a classroom, we don't do it, and then we wonder why our society is crumbling in Ocean Springs. We wonder why it's crumbling in Jackson. But every once in a while, a little bit of knowledge comes through, a little nugget comes through, and all of a sudden we realize, hey, it's important. I would also argue with the education front, sir. It's time for mothers and fathers to start being more responsible and involved in their kids' education. And I look at, I always say, I'm looking at myself in the mirror too. I think about how often do I get involved in Toots McCracken's education? Not nearly as much as her mother, but I roll in pretty good. And her mother is definitely involved in that, being an educator herself. But you see so many times the parents don't get involved until, you know, there's a problem in the classroom. There's a disciplinary problem. You know, the original game plan for this Thursday and Friday show after I got out on my day off on Wednesday was to talk about this teacher therapy video where these two former teachers, they're not even retired teachers anymore. They're former teachers not getting involved in just talking about the complete misery in the classroom. Let's take this call right here real quick. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, so I know you had time in the military or whatever, and I appreciate that, but I want to ask you a question.
Mhm.
Because some of our like HIMARS systems, they're getting hit before they even get set up. They're getting flown in, taken off the planes, driven to location, and because
Whoa, what happened? Hey, brother Rick, I didn't hang up on you. What the heck was that? I have no idea. But brother Rick, call back. We're going to take a quick break because I want to talk more anyway, and we'll just take a little bit of an early break. You are listening to the Andrew Gossip Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Good old LeBron James. Never going to be as good as Michael Jordan. Let's just get that out there right now. Hang in there a second, buddy. All right. Rick, you there? Hey, Rick, are you there?
Yeah, I heard you say that the first time, and then it dropped off again.
Dude, that something's weird. We're in a commercial. I'm going to put you on hold. We'll be right in.
Yep.
And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Rick, are you there, brother?
I'm here. I have no idea what that was all
Dude,
about.
I have no idea either. I heard you say hi, Mars, and all of a sudden it went click.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like we're taking them off the planes and going to set them up. And because either from China or Russia, Iran is getting real-time satellite imagery,
Mm-hmm.
they're hitting them before we get them set up. And I'm just wondering, how do you counter that?
Well, I could speak to it in generalities, but in general, when we're flying things into countries and stuff, there are certain air bases that we go to, right? And predictability, probability of life. You know, people don't know this, but you drive the same way to work almost every day, and they form
correct.
habits, right? So if we have a habit of putting a Patriot unit in the same spot every time, there's going to be that little bit of intelligence there that they're using. Dude, I really couldn't. I don't have a good answer for that. It's not that I don't think that we're not going to figure it out. But go ahead.
Off of what you just said with the predictability. So we're taking our C-130s, our refuelers, and all that, and we're placing them on the tarmacs because you can't park them in the dirt. You got to park them on the concrete, and they're always in the same spot. In relativity, like they're either at this air base or that air base. You know what I'm saying? And they've got this new Iran has this new hypersonic missile that it has a frangible warhead on it and breaks up into 30 different projectiles.
Where did you?
Different height.
I'm not arguing you, but where did you read that, dude?
That was reported by Matt Bracken, and they actually used one over Tel Aviv about 3 days ago.
All right, I'm not arguing. I'm just wondering where that came from. Please continue. Yeah. I'm not trying to time bust you.
Okay. Well, think about it like a shotgun. You know, if you are really close to a shotgun barrel, then you have a very tight pattern. But if you are far away, you get a bigger pattern. So what I'm getting at, tying it all up, is those airplanes. If they explode this warhead at a certain height, they could take out, a football field worth of aircraft because it breaks into, I think it was 30 kilogram projectiles.
Wow.
Explosive projectiles. So just going off what you were saying about, you get in the same pattern and put the things in the same places that your habits. We could lose a lot of aircraft really fast with just one attack.
We could. I'm not arguing that. We could.
Yeah. I'll send you the interview I listened to whenever he was talking about it. But yeah, it's a crazy little thing because people were talking bad about it, saying that it's only 30 kilograms, and unless it lands directly on you, that's not true if you're talking about aircraft, because just a little bit of damage on aircraft takes it out of the fight.
Yep. And warfare, this is like the genius of Sun Tzu. And warfare will always be evolving, but ultimately it will always come down to who goes to the lowest common denominator, in that whoever is willing to sacrifice for the win. People, the Japanese would train, and they were willing to go to the end. And what did it take? It took a nuclear bomb. You look at what's happened in modern warfare. You can have all the greatest airplanes, all the greatest bombs, but all it takes is one breakthrough and giving it to our enemy, and now they have a weapon that we thought maybe only Russia or only China had. And how we counter that. It's the military industrial complex is going to be around for a while.
Well, when you start dealing with proxies, then you've got to look at who's backing the person that you're against. And
yep.
That opens up a whole new closet of weaponry that can be used against you. You're not just fighting one person anymore. You're fighting the city behind them,
Well, brother, you're preaching to the choir, man, whether it's the Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, all these, and these are all Islamic proxies, but there are other proxies that are non-Islamic that are out there that either love the United States or hate the United States. And proxy warfare is dangerous because they don't follow the rules of war,
Well, it's not only that. You got some out there that don't care either way. They just want to get paid. And those are the dangerous ones because they don't have an ideological view on it. They've just got I'll do it.
The mercenaries are out there, man, and they are out there and they are plentiful. I mean, look at what's happening in Mexico with the drug cartels. You've got retired and former Navy SEALs, Delta Force operators, Green Berets, Rangers sitting there doing that. And it's just the way it is, man. I mean, when you start training warriors up to that level and they only know one thing, when it comes time to retire,
that's what they're going to do.
They're going to go back to what they know. And I mean, not everybody can form a podcast like Sean Ryan and monetize it per se. But the war is just in Iran, just absolutely. I know this is going to sound wrong to some people, but it fascinates me because as I've studied war throughout my life, I see all these reoccurring patterns and familiarity. And it's just like we don't learn from our past. And we're going to sit there and we're going to try to take these small incremental steps instead of just going in for the kill. And but again, if you do that, then you're considered somehow evil. I don't get it.
But see, I think the Ukraine war and the Iran war are one of the same. I think it's all tied together. And I think it all started years ago with Nord Stream. I think that's what really kicked everything off.
It could be.
I think it was a war on energy.
Well, this is what really bothers me. And people are going to say, "Oh, there goes Andy talking about 0 point energy again." But if you think about it, if there is some other energy source besides oil out there, what does that do to the global economy? It instantly crashes the entire global economy in an instant. And that's why I don't think it's come out yet. But I mean, we've seen enough to know that there is some type of energy out there that is moving things around. We don't know what it is, but we've actually seen it and documented it now. We don't know what it is. No one's claiming it's ours or the Chinese or the Russians, but energy is going to always be the big thing in this current economy and in the way our global system is set up right now. Oil drives everything.
But when you think about energy, you can't just look at oil. It's oil, it's fertilizer, it's food, it's sulfur, it's just all the hydrocarbons.
Petroleum products.
It's just more than oil.
Well, what do you think about? So we've talked about Valor Atomics and how they have their own 250 kilowatt reactor online right now, producing energy, safe as can be. What do you think about them being able to split atoms and form hydrocarbons themselves? They've talked about doing that. I mean, think about that. If you can have the perfectly fine nuclear reactors all around the United States that can also formulate their own 87 octane gasoline, formulate their own fertilizer. I mean, that technology is out there. What's that going to do to the global economy? I think we're kind of, I hate to say it like this, but I almost think that we're looking at it in too small of a fashion, you know?
Well, it's definitely too small. I think the best battery technology is coming out of China right now. And I think that we have regulated ourselves into, it'd take 15 years to build another power plant here.
A nuclear power plant or
The regulations.
a nuclear power plant or
Yeah. Yes.
I think if we tried to build a type of power plant like Entergy has with the big coolant towers on the rivers and everything, I think you're right. But if you look at again, and I know I sound like a broken record to a lot of people, but if you go look at the technology that's out there that is operating right now, it's not just Valor Atomics, but there's two other companies that have also created and are operating nuclear power plants that were built within the last year. We've got 3 of them online. It's just a matter of scaling it up. But
I know, but look at how much money is against that. There's so many people that are not, actually, that's wrong. There's a few people that make so much money off of the way things are currently regulated. They will not want Valor or any of those to come out and produce or abundant energy. And there's a difference in the two, but they don't want it because then it hurts their bottom line.
Well, I think that you're right to a certain extent, but at some point, if Western civilization collapses in a hurry, which it could do, I mean, you could see it fall overnight, and the power goes off, and the people can't go to get their Arby's or Chick-fil-A anymore. Those people who want to make all that money are going to be broke and poor anyway.
When everybody loses everything, they lose it. So, I mean, you're talking about Mad Max, and that's just not a fun day for anybody.
Nope. And it's sad that we live in a society where we're actually thinking about what would happen if that actually happened, where the power went out, if the water went out. And, I look at prepping and people talk about, say, we need to do a prepping show. And Rick, we should do something like that with like aquaponics and farming and stuff like that. But how long do you think the average American could really last? Like, how long do you think you could really make it if it all hit the fan tomorrow? Because I look at it and everything that we prepared for. And I mean, we've got maybe 80, 90 days.
Well, if you look at the Rand Corporation, and they did a multi-billion-dollar study on it, you got about 2 weeks before everybody loses their mind, and then you've got those who are self-sufficient who are going to last a little bit longer, but the cities will burn. If you're not 50, 60 miles away from the big cities, you're going to have really hard days.
Well, I remember we actually, when I was a county supervisor, and they said if Chicago lost all power, water, and everything, they would have an 80% mortality rate within 3 days because of just no water. It'd be all gone. And that's the thing that scares me. It's like people don't really understand what's going to happen when all of a sudden the first thing you're going to notice, the power goes off and your Wi-Fi is not working and you can't reach your Starlink because it's all down. And it's just a dark, dark place, man. Dark, dark place. Brother, I'll give you the last word.
It is a dark place, but if you know how to light a candle, then maybe you can make it through. So what I mean by that is just learn some things and learn how to keep your cool when things go bad. If you can keep your cool, you can do all right.
Well, brother, I appreciate the phone call, man. I do. And we try to keep our cool here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And get in touch with me, man. We'll have to have you back in sometime.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one. That was Brother Rick. And I didn't get to Roger Wicker and his statement on the war. Maybe we'll get to it after we take this last commercial break on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Interesting text coming in. People wondering why we went off on that tangent. And some of you liked it, some of you didn't. But this one kind of got to me. I could listen to you and Rick all day. I hope to see lots of links to your call today. Yep, they're all on my X account. And Rick and I, we're both conservative in nature. We both go to church on Sundays. We have a lot of things in common, but there's a lot that we disagree on too. And it's never like we ever get in shouting matches or anything like that. But we'll go toe to toe on some of this war stuff. And he's got a really good point when it comes to what's happening with the NDAA and the thoughts on Israel and the anti-Semitism that's going around. I mean, there's so much out there that people can be angry over and talk over each other with, but that's not what I want. I want to try to sit there and be able to be, dare I say, that voice of reason that's out there, that's allowing everybody to sit there and come together and talk about issues and do so in a way that's constructive in nature. It's how I talk about Nolan Wells and what's going on there. It's one of those things where I want to be able to talk about issues and things like that, and be able to talk about things that are sensitive in nature, and not end up having grenades being lobbed all over the place. It's difficult. It's difficult to do because it's always easier to take the way of anger and just completely dismiss somebody's argument right off the bat. But I don't want to be that way. And I didn't even get a chance to talk about Roger Wicker today. He's got a whole article here on Magnolia Tribune put out by our man Frank Corridor. Senator Wicker to President Trump, finish the job in Iran. Well, I would like to finish the job in Iran too, but I would have liked to finish it a month ago, a half a year ago. If we learn nothing from the global war on terror, is that we sit there and we try to put Western civilization values in the Middle East. They just don't mix. It's like oil and water, or it's worse than oil and water. It's like oil and milk. It just nasty. Doesn't end up working out good for anybody. I've expressed publicly and privately of my approval for finishing the job and realizing that the negotiations were getting us nowhere, Wicker told The Hill on Thursday, saying he has spoken to President Trump multiple times this past week on Iran. Well, how about on the Save America Act, Senator Wicker? We agree on Iran. Most of us agree with you on Iran. We want to finish the job, but we also want to finish the job with the Save America Act. How many times do we have to pass the Save America Act in the House to get it to you? With the passing of your friend and colleague, Senator Lindsey Graham, you've become just that much more powerful inside the Senate. Surely you can push a finger here or push a block over there to get the Save America Act through. Come on now. It's always the same thing. It's always the same thing. Everybody's got their pet peeve issues and everything else just goes down the drain. Well, you know what? It's been a long time since we have a Sweet Bee segment, and it's the weekend. Toots McCracken is at Bible camp. It's just the Sweet Bee and Sponge show, and I am so grateful that I have a Proverbs 31 girl. She's always busy. Her candle's never dimmed. Her lamp is never out. She's always moving and grooving. Men, let this be the weekend where you do something special for your significant other, your wife. Go get her those flowers. Go plan a date night. Go plan a night out, a getaway. It's always better when you sit there and honor your wife, or and wives, you can honor your husbands too. We appreciate that too. So let's make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, everybody. Be blessed. Yes, and amen. Amen, ladies and gentlemen.